Alright, good morning everybody. Mike here from Northeastern Dirt Property Maintenance. I'm about ready to tie into this ASV here, do a little maintenance on it, and it just came off a pretty dusty job. I couldn't film it. I didn't forget to film it. This last job I couldn't film it. The people didn't really want me filming it, and simply because, for legal reasons, I didn't bother filming it. And so she's a little dusty, a little dirty. It's due for an oil change. So I'm going to clean this thing up a little bit and we'll get at her. Let's do an oil change, clean it up, and grease it up a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to back it outside. We're going to blow it off. I should have done that to start. I don't like to leave it running either while I'm blowing it off, because this thing creates a lot of fine dust out of the radiator and everything else, and I don't want that swirling back around and going in that air filter and getting drawn in. So I always shut it off when I'm blowing it off. So I slipped in on Saturday, this past Saturday, done quite a long job, probably 10-hour job, and these people were just dying to have this yard completely regraded. They worked their backyard and they wanted it all regraded. So I regraded the whole backyard, but we only had a day or two of dry weather, so I had to get in there and get the job done, and luckily I did, because we've had rain ever since. And this wet weather like this, the temperature is going to come up. We're in for 4 or 5 days of sunny weather starting tomorrow, roughly. So fall weather like this, 18 to 21 degrees in the fall with lots of rain like this. If you can get in there and get that grass seed down right now, preferably several weeks ago, but you know what? It's never too late. Get that grass seed down right now and get that seed to soil contact in there. Get these fall rains on there, and you'll be in a good position for next year. Overseed a little bit in the spring over top, but you'll be in good shape for next spring. If you get it down this fall, it'll stratify, it'll go dormant. Even if it doesn't germinate, it'll lay there and then it'll pop in the spring, and you're ahead of the game if you can get your seed down in these cool weather temperature, because that the grass really starts to grow up nice and gets that lush, thick, that green color to it this time of year. So if you can get your lawn seed down, get it down, and these guys wanted it done, and they called me a few times, so I slipped in there, but now we've had a lot of rain. So anyway, we'll carry on with this. This thing's, if you look at it, it's got a lot of fine dust on it from grading, super light dust, and I'll just have to clean it all up. We'll do the oil change first. I can't remember what size that drain plug is. We'll have to get in there. I think it is 3/4, but I'm not sure.
So that plug is 3/4, somewhere under there. Oh, that's not good. That is not good.
These 12-point sockets are shit.
Okay, we got rid of the 12-point. That's criminal. I shouldn't have did that. 12-point sockets are garbage. Something is not right. How hard that drain plug was to come out of there.
All right. That cavitating and sucking for air can all be alleviated by taking the filler plug off your valve covers. Just take out your filler cap, let that thing draw air in there, and then your oil comes out free and easy. All right, you guys can let me know, because I'm sure this conversation is interesting to some people, and it comes down to oil filters. I've never been one to really run cheap oil filters. I try not to run cheap oil filters, but today I have to make the exception, because I called up CarQuest in North Bay, and I gave them the numbers for the oil filter off this. I gave them the Wix crossover filter, and they came up with this oil filter from CarQuest. And the thing about it is they're 65 kilometers away, so it's 130K round trip. So you're talking 80 miles, 75 miles to go get an oil filter with the price of fuel and everything. And they deliver from North Bay into the gas station here in town. So you can save that trip of having to drive up there. So I called it in yesterday, and they sent me up these CarQuest filters. And I really don't know how good or how bad they are, but I do know, and it's unfortunate like everything else, it states right on the box here somewhere, because I look right away. It's so annoying. Made in China. Somewhere. Anyway, on this box it says somewhere made in China. I don't know where, but anyway. So I ordered these filters, and I mean, probably like a lot of oil filters, a lot of them are made in China, but you know, they're made to manufacturer specs, I would believe, to the most part. But anyway, I got these CarQuest filters, so I'm going to try them out today. And they're like $5 a filter. And you get what you pay for. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully, these will do the job for me. So I ordered a couple of them in, and we're running my favorite oil. I don't know why it's my favorite oil. It's just, I've had lots of it. The dealer from Southern Ontario I used to deal with, I used to get a wickedly good price on this. So today we're going to run that 10W30 Chevron Delo right there. All diesel engine, Syn blend. That's a 10W30 Syn blend oil. Not synthetic, not fully conventional. Again, just another classification of hybrid oil that these manufacturers come up with to sell more product, no doubt. But anyway, I like Chevron, and I like Shell Rotella. I'm kind of just sold on those oils, but I'm going to have to find a supplier of oil up here somewhere to get oil, so I got to look further into it. But anyway, that's what we're running today. That Chevron, a Delo 400 Syn blend, so we're going to give it a go. We'll drain this out of here, let this drain down, and then we're going to give her and go from there. We're going to pull that oil filter too. All right, that's what we're after. Right down in there, and that is a Donaldson filter that's on there right now. A good quality. That's a good filter, man. Right down on the side of that block on that ASV motor, that Perkins Shibara 3-cylinder. And there's your oil filter. It just screws onto the side of the machine, and not bad to get in and out. That was easy. Now let me see if I can get in here. And I'm going to get this Donaldson number off here too, because this is a good oil filter. I'm just comparing these filters, having a little look. Looking at the threads, looking at the ring diameter, comparing them. Since this is a new basic supplier, CarQuest, I just check it out. Because realistically, between Wicks and Donaldson, I don't think you can beat their filters. Probably some of the best. In fact, while we're talking oil filters, you guys, have a little look at all oil filters are not created equally. It's just a fact. It's actually, the difference is just amazing. And you can go back to Messick's video, Neil from Messick's, the Kubota dealer. He cuts a Kubota filter in half and he opens up the pleating and he stretches it out, and then he takes an aftermarket filter for the same machine, opens it up, and it's probably got 30% less pleating in it. So all filters are not created equally when it comes to filters. And another thing, there's also videos out there, if you watch your oil filters, and I was actually quite shocked. They took a Fram filter, brand new, off a shelf in a store, and they cut the Fram open, and believe it or not, the Fram filter inside, I couldn't believe it, but it's there. I mean, they didn't make the video up. It already had red, rusty, light oxidization inside the filter. They opened it up, and the filter was actually rusting inside. They took it, and you could see the red iron oxide, the breaking down of that filter. They touched it with your finger. Light orange, rusty dust of all the breakdown of that filter before it even went on a vehicle. So in essence, you're putting a rusty filter on your vehicle, and that was a Fram. And you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I have run Fram filters before, but ever since I seen that Fram video, this must have been 3 years ago, I go, okay, that's it. And there's no doubt it hurts Fram when people see that, and they don't want you to see it, but hey, nobody wants to put a rusty oil filter on their equipment or their car. So, and if you don't believe me or if in doubt, go find that video about rusty Fram filters. It's out there. I would think it's still on YouTube. And I was quite surprised. Fram is probably one of the biggest names in filters. But that's unacceptable. That's from jobbing it out to cheap countries, just like this, China, and substandard materials and metallurgy, I think, and that's what you get. But anyway, that's my little gripe on filters. They're not all created equally. But did I make a mistake buying the CarQuest? I don't know. Hopefully not, but we're going to give it a go, and we're going to put it on there. So we'll open up this oil. Watch that pull tab. Make sure that shit doesn't fall inside. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. Here's where we are in northeastern Ontario. Have a look around. Take a look outside there. That's where we are. Probably around right now, September 27th. And you can see the tree colors. You can see them. Everything's nicely changed. Probably the first week of October, you're going to see quite a change. So have a look over yonder. And everything's changing here. We're heavy in the fall now. Usually I like to show the weather. It's just how I am. Give that little seating flat rubber sealer there. I don't want to call it an O-ring. It's not really an O-ring. It's a flat seal on that oil surface. And then give them threads a little shot of oil in there too. You already got oil on your finger, so do the threads. Do the sealing surface on there, and make sure your surface, your machine is clean where you're putting that oil filter on there too. That's another thing you want to watch. Make sure it's clean and then put it on. I don't know if you guys can see that. I can hardly get in there. Hopefully you can. I can't tell. So I like to get in there and just give a little, make sure that surface is kind of clean around there where that oil seal has to sit. So give that a quick wipe. Oh, and another thing I forgot to do. I'm going to write down right now, you guys can't see it, but I'm going to write down the hours of the machine.
Okay, so let's try and put that thing in there. This is just a real pain. That is some nasty in there for me to try and get in there. Okay, so you can see I got that filter on there. I just give it a bit of a tweak with a wrench. You don't want to over torque these filters. Okay, that's one thing you don't want to do, because as that machine cools and heats up and cools and heats up, it always feels like they tend to tighten up on you. So just put it on there, snug it up slightly, and just let it go. Do not crank on that thing. All right, so we got that filter on there. Except I dropped the drain plug into the oil pan, as I usually do. So as you can see, I put cardboard down too. I always save my cardboard boxes, and there's already oil dripping onto the cardboard. Cardboard is great at wicking up oil. Like that Dodge Ram Cummins turbo diesel over there, that 3500, I put it in the garage for the winter. It's back there in the corner. And like a lot of Cummins 5.9s, it does leak a little oil, drips a little oil over time. Not horrendous, but enough where it's going to stain the floor. So I put cardboard underneath that, and it's just, cardboard's great. And then when you're done, you just put a match to it. You send it over to China. And what I like to do is really oh, and by the way, you can see my rags. My new collection of rags here. Stanfield's men's underwear. And guess what? I bought them. And they're too tight. I don't like them. So now they're rags. I save everything here for rags. It doesn't matter. Everything goes for rags, and then it goes to the burn barrel. That's just the way it is. So I inspect that. Inspect that sealing washer on there for that oil pan. Everything looks good. Except I slipped off there when I first started with that shitty ass 12-point socket. Look, I kind of broke the corners on there. That's a little bit irritating. So that's good. Good to go. I'm just going to wipe up that puddle of oil on the cardboard. So now we'll put that drain plug back in. Just pay a little attention to stuff like that, even the little details like that. Pay attention to your drain plug, your O-rings, your copper crush washers, whatever's on your drain plug. Always keep an eye on those. Get into the habit of having a look. Because sometimes you'll lose your crush washer, you'll lose your O-ring, it'll be broken, it'll fall off, and you won't even notice. That's why you get into the habit of kind of just looking on your drain plugs. Make sure your sealing element is on that plug. And I mean, I've done it before. I've done all the hokey tricks. Okay, drain plugs in. Drain plugs in, new oil filters in. And we got that under control. And there's your oil filler on top of that there. You guys can see it right there on top of that valve cover. That's where you're putting your oil in on this ASV. And this is a Perkins Shibara. And they can call it what they want, really. It's a joint partnership, I guess, between... It all falls back into Perkins Shibara and Caterpillar when ASV was first running with Caterpillar and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, they obviously put the word out they were looking for a diesel engine years ago. So somehow in Japan they got these Chevron, and Chevron is not the best motor either. They're in your New Holland tractors, New Holland front mount mowers, all that to Chevron. I don't know. I had bad luck with my first one. I already seized up one of these motors in my last ASV, so I had to pull the whole motor, the pumps. I pulled everything out, and I had it completely rebuilt at the machine shop. Custom automotive shop rebuilt it. So I put it in brand new with all the bills, and I put the bills in the seat, and I rolled her into the ASV dealer and said, "Here, boys, you can have it." And before I moved up here, and I traded it in on this machine brand new. I don't like shit that seizes up on me for unknown reasons, and to me it was an unknown reason. So anyway, they told me when I seized up my other diesel engine that I was running it on too steep of angles when I was doing work with the machine, grading, edges of ponds and everything else. And you know what? Maybe I was running it on a severe angle, but like I said before, what kind of machine can't run on a heavy angle and do its job? To me, that was bullshit. Yeah, so I got to know these motors intimately when I pulled out the last motor and the hydraulic pumps on these. I split the pumps from the motor. And then these things are just littered with hydraulic lines underneath. It looks like a spider's web of hydraulic lines underneath the seat and the tank deep inside of this machine. They're not routed very nicely. Well, if you watch my videos, I'm sure there's some people out there that'll tell you I'm hard on ASV. Well, I am hard on them as a company, because I think if you're going to make something, you should have your lines routed properly. They should be fastened with fasteners. And where you need to use hard piping, you use hard piping and you mount it with proper rigid pipe brackets, and you run your flex lines from there. You just do it right. And when you look at these machines here and you open them up, they're not the best when it comes to hose routing. I've seen hoses rubbing on each other where you're out or skiving on your hydraulic hoses, wearing right down into your braiding. I don't like that stuff. But off that topic now, back to this 10W30. Now that fall's rolling around and winter's rolling around, and it's nice to get that lighter oil in there. Swap over to 10W30, especially this heavy-duty Sin Blend. I just love this oil for the wintertime. I would put this oil in everything if I had enough. I would run it out there in that GMC top kick too, but I don't run it in the wintertime, so I don't need to worry. But if I was running that in the winter, I would not put 1540 in that top kick. I would probably swap that over to the 10W30 Chevron Delo 400. I have a lot of faith in that oil. But this stuff has become so expensive, this oil, the good oils. And another thing about oil changes, it just amazes me now in your Kubota manuals. Anybody that's got Kubota, if you check your manuals, at least on my excavator, the recommended oil change interval on the Kubota manual is 500 hours on the oil. 500 hours. I've talked about this before, but I just think, wow, that's a lot of hours. And there's no doubt about it, oil technology is way better nowadays than it ever was or ever has been. But 500 hours, I guess they say it's okay. They recommend it. All right, I pulled that air filter cap. And while I'm at it, I'm going to get that Donaldson number off there. If you look at this, is Donaldson primary air filter on that thing. I'm going to get that number, this P821575 number, and I'm going to get that wrote down wherever my notepad went. I probably have this wrote down in a book in the house, but before I put it in, I'm going to write it down anyway. And this guy's in pretty good shape already. All right, let's get on to some greasing on here. And these pivot points here in your boom. These pivot points right here on your boom are so important right there on the bottom end of that boom. Probably, as I've said before, one of the most important points. Get lots of grease in them. They're the lowest point that travels along the ground, and they get the most contamination, whether it be mud, sand, water, aggregate, doesn't matter. These are your lowest points in your boom, so naturally they're going to get all the mud and the water and whatever you're working in. And it's nice to get that area really greased up. And I put a lot of grease to this machine. Also, these latches, there's grease fittings on all these latches on most machines. So what I like to do is make sure that they get done. And right now they're completely covered in dirt on this side. Down in the track system on these ASVs, right down inside here on your track system, you got grease fittings in there for your articulating suspension on these machines. You got a fitting here and a fitting at the front. So we hit her pretty good with the grease. And that grease I'm using today is a really good grease. It is the grease that's impregnated with a moly. And I've always used that for years. It's like an EP2 extreme pressure grease, but it's got the moly additive in it. And I do believe this is Valvoline with the moly EP, and it's quite pricey, but I've used it for years. But as I say now, my products are finally coming to an end up here. My greases and my oils, all my supplies running down from when I moved here. And I will have to source some new lubricants and new maintenance materials for this equipment. So I'm just running down on my supplies now. So anyway, you guys, thanks for tuning in today. We did the oil change, blew out the air filter, greased this thing up. I'm going to wipe it down and spray it down with WD-40 a little bit in the outside, and wipe all the dust off since I can't pressure wash it today. And I just generally go over it, and we'll go from there. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Thank you.